Hello, Maggie.
Hello. Hi, Chef. Good to see you.
Can you tell us what your job is in this campus at Edgewood College before we start?
Sure. I am the Vice President for Student Development and Dean of Students. And that means that my areas of supervision and responsibility are the learning outside the classroom. So the Vice President for Academic Affairs is in charge of the faculty and the programs inside the classroom. And the areas where I'm responsible are the learning outside the classroom, student activities, student life, residence life, judicial affairs, security, health services, counseling, career services, health services, the CAC. Those are my areas. So orientation, all of that is in my area.
Over the term of your career, how's Edgewood College changed towards diversity?
Okay. Well, I've been here over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And so when I first came, we didn't have many students of any background, and but we certainly had a majority of white students. And in terms of my staffing, I had one staff member who was 12 hours a week, and so but there was an opening when I came, so I was able to hire someone. And I was able to get her a few more hours. And so she was a very lively person and was able to bring people together and do programs and support students. And so we began to see more students engaged, more students succeeding, and she was committed to bringing students of all backgrounds together. So there was a lot of good discussion, she was in the arts, so there was a lot of good work through the arts. Also, she came to me one day and said, how would you feel if we called my office? At that time it was, she was the director for ethnic diversity, I think. Okay. And she said, what if we just called my office the Center for Ethnic Diversity? And I mean, she had just this little office in a basement. It was where this building is now, but it was just like a recreation room with offices. And I said, sure, let's call it that, because students were gathering, so it was a center in a way.
So the Center for Diversity, in my understanding, it didn't exist before.
It was her office.
Okay.
It was just, and it was like a third of this size. It was just a little office.
Okay.
But she said, can we call it the center? And I said, sure.
Okay.
So then in like 1998, 1999, when we were planning this building, students came together and said, we would like a real center for diversity, then ethnic diversity, and we would like it to have a prominent place in this building. And student government worked with the students who were working out of the Center for Diversity, even though it was just this little office. And together they made a proposal that we have a real Center for Diversity and that it have a prominent place. And they envisioned what they would like it to look like, that they wanted the office to be nice size and also a gathering place for students. And it was a wonderful time of students kind of coming together to vision what they thought would be a helpful space. And so we got that passed as part of this building. And so that was exciting to see. And so by the time we moved into that space, then the original person that I came with left, and I hired a new staff member, and her name was Pearl. Okay. She had more of a social work background instead of an arts background. And so some of her focus tended to be on more the student support needs of students. She also did a lot of really good programming. She would do she gathered people together to take different months. Okay. So it wasn't just Black History Month, it would be Asian Month and, Latino Month and more GLBT, more diversity there. And through having Pearl and our programs, I would say that the college began to realize that if students were going to be successful, that we were going to have to do a number of things differently. So then when Dr. Carey came as president in 2004, one of the things he committed to was he sponsored some college-wide training so that we had the Social Justice Training Institute come to campus, and like groups of 30 faculty and staff, different groups, would go like through 2-day training sessions. And that was a way to say, okay, let's become more aware of ways in which, you know, we're welcoming, ways in which we're not welcoming. Everybody has things to bring, everybody has things to learn. Let's look at it through the lens of different kinds of students, people with different backgrounds. And that was kind of a turning point because we began to embed a vision in our mission and strategic plan to be a place that all students felt that this was really their school. And not just, we were this historically white school and you can come if you want to, but more that if the school has to change, we're going to change to help everybody feel that this is their school. And so then through that time, we also had these inclusion plans so that every department had to have an inclusion plan. And I have to say, our department was already doing that kind of work. We were doing already a lot of training and a lot of work, but some of it is our work lends itself to that. But so I would say the way the college has changed is we've done a lot more work in ways in which the college needs to change to be welcoming to students. How do we help students succeed? We got much more focused on retention. What helps students to be here semester after semester? What helps students to graduate? And of course that's everybody, but it's also for students of color. It's like what, you know, different people have different barriers to their success. So what's going to be helpful? And then the Community Scholars Program, yes, I would say really helped the focus of leadership. Because the first year we had 3 students of color as community scholars.
Community scholars, right.
And they really felt like they were totally under the spotlight because it was a big deal. They got this full ride scholarship and people were and everybody knew who they were and they were like, hello, you know, it was just, but then by the next year, then we had 6. And when you have 6, then you also have, that attracts other students who applied to the program, didn't get in the program, but got other financial aid. And so from there, we've just gotten more and more students. I mean, I remember a time when there were 3 students of color in Stevie. And so if you can imagine only 3 students of color in all of Stevie, you know, you feel pretty isolated, you know. And I remember the year that some women of color said, there is a group of black men. And they were so excited that there was like a group of black men in the, you know. And then I remember the year that Amadou was a freshman and I went out and was watching a volleyball game and it was 2 sides of volleyball, all men, all races, all backgrounds, and it was like, oh boy, it just really felt like we're moving now, you know. So, and then when Pearl left, we had Tony and Derek run the center for a couple of years while we were trying to decide what to do, and then this year we decided to have Tony be in charge, and then we hired Glenna. So I would say some key things were being able to get the center built, the Community Scholars Program, the training program for faculty and staff, and I think the success that we've seen in attracting and retaining students, and the focus on that if we want a diverse student body, then everybody's going to have to change, because if a white student is ignorant in their treatment of students of color, then students of color aren't going to want to stay. And so our target of focus has to be everybody, because it doesn't help if I'm welcoming if a student goes into a classroom and nobody else is, you know. And so everybody, so that's also, we started the year of truth, year of justice, you know.
The values.
And the focus was on racial justice training through the value. So a lot of it was, if you're a person committed to truth, then if somebody says this, what do you say? What do you do? If you're a person committed to justice and you see this happening, what is your responsibility? So that's been a real lens into setting the table from the first day that people, the first full day that people wake up and they're here, that's the training that they get. So I think although we have miles and miles and miles to go, sometimes it's good to just look at where we've come. And I think we've grown in our sense of helping all students feel that this is their college. I think we still have a long way to go.